All right. Good morning, Ben Harbor. Good morning. Good morning, and good morning. Actually, I'm running a few minutes behind trying to connect with my guest, which we are having connection issues again. He's emailing me, but he's not actually on here. So hopefully this will happen. This was the guest we're going to have last week, but there are some difficulties. Anyway, good morning, Ben Harbor. This is Chat with the Chief. It's here every Monday here on City of Benton Harbor's YouTube channel and the Benton Harbor Department of Public Safety's Facebook page. I am Director Dan McGinnis, and I am here with you every Monday generally. Today is going to be a kind of a touch and go because I actually got hurt this weekend at a kind of a freak accident, but I'm doing well. Back is hurt, but not as bad as it I first thought it was going to be. So, yeah, so we're on. Again, I'm just going to be kind of freestyling because I did have a guest in a particular topic, and I'm not sure what is going on there. But we'll kind of talk about some things that we want to do, kind of moving forward for the department. One of the things, of course, is being on Facebook and a Facebook kind of program is start to utilize the Benton Harbor Department of Public Safety Facebook page a little more. I know we have a lot of fire and fire safety stuff on there. We have several thousand viewers to our page, and we're not as heavy on the police side. So one of the few things that we're looking at trying to accomplish or do is kind of getting more information out there for safety of the residents. One thing we're thinking about doing, and I'd like to get some input on there, is what if we took and put out, maybe once a week or when appropriate, some outstanding warrants and some warrant information. So, kind of thinking about that. I know there's probably some pros and cons to that. Excuse me. So I know that other agencies, other departments do that. I know they also go in the paper. I don't get the paper, but I know that they go in the paper also. I think when warrants are authorized. So that's something that looking to do. Additionally, we get, and one of the main things I'm kind of thinking about is kind of people's interests and privacy. Another thing, speaking of privacy, is, for example, somebody gets say their house gets broken into, or there's some suspicious characters caught on their video, and they share that with us. That type of information would be very helpful and very critical to other people to be able to see, that just somebody might be in the area. Two, kind of the activities and some of the things that people do when they're trying to kind of check a house to see if it's a candidate to be burglarized or a vehicle. You also get a chance to see, they for the most part kind of wear the same thing. It's generally some type of hooded sweatshirt and a backpack. So anyway, one of the things that I'm consideration for putting stuff like that on our Facebook page is the person who was burglarized, their privacy. So, I think people do have cameras. They do share them with us. But before we go out and say, hey, yeah, here's a person that was in the 500 block of Main Street checking doors, we wouldn't necessarily put that out there if the homeowner would not be comfortable. So, good morning, Shaquille and Katie DeBoss. Good morning. Getting department info on the TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, I know we keep talking about that, Shaquille. We're gonna do it. Do you think the commissioner's gonna let that happen? I both know how that conversation gonna go. Well, if you notice, we kind of do our own thing. So we're it will. So I think those things should go into what's called Citizens app. Well, I'm curious. I know we do have our own department app. It's called Tip 411. Actually, it's called Ben Harbor Department of Public Safety. You go into your your app store. But I think what we're talking about doing is more um, getting more information out there. I can't really say transparency because it's not that, but getting information out there so people can see. The thing is also, it's kind of funny. It goes both ways. Like, say if we were to print out, say, a list of warrants that were authorized for people in a week, or people that were looking for, their warrant, their picture. Most people like that. A lot of people like that. It's kind of embarrassing, I guess. I've never been on something like that, but I can imagine. So right now, Ben Harper, we have just under 400 outstanding warrants. In fact, last I looked last week, actually about a week ago, we had 70 outstanding felony warrants and about 136 misdemeanor warrants, and then some other various. We get bench warrants and civil warrants that actually come from the court when people go there to appear on or don't appear on maybe traffic tickets or citations from code compliance. So, and what made me start thinking about this is that um, my guys, so internally, and this is what I'm thinking about. So, actually, kind of, Ben Harbor, I'm kind of thinking out loud what you guys hear. So, last week there was and actually we ended up catching the guys because I got the best cops in Barron County who worked for me, and they did a fantastic job. But last week, we got a call by a young lady, and somebody had checked her doors. I actually walked between the houses, checked the kind of side door, checked the front door. This is about 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, hooded sweatshirt on, backpack. Guys, we talk about like profiling, uh, but honestly, profiling is not illegal only when you're profiling for racial purposes. But again, and I think the lady who had shared the video with us, who was almost victimized, would agree. When you see a young man at between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning, walking around with a backpack at night. He's not going to class. There's no class at 3, 5 o'clock in the morning, I think, in any city. And when they're walking up and down the street, walking between houses, walking in the parking lot, we've also had video. One of our apartment complexes here on Main Street. Well, in the back, there's parking, and there was a young man that had walked between testing cars for like 40 minutes. And this was all caught on video, and ultimately found one car, doors open, and he's able to steal the car for whatever reason. So those are the things that we'd like to kind of get out there, guys. Just kind of be aware of this. Make sure you are locking your doors. If you do have cameras and you have good footage, to share it, and not even so much for us, but for us to share that footage as it goes. If we were to put that out. So that's what I'm thinking about. The direction, kind of taking our Facebook page in. Again, we got tons of outstanding warrants. We get good video, and it's not the body cam video. This is a lot of people in the city have, I think, either Nest or Ring Central. It's like a video network that they have that you can also share. So I just want to make sure that we have a policy in place to protect those people. Now, I'm assuming generally most people, if they were victimized or potentially victimized, would want to get the information out that they provided police. I just want to make sure. Again, I'm really big on protecting people. Yeah, there's a bad guy, but if somebody looks in the video, if there's another bad guy that looks at the video and sees what this guy does and sees where a particular potential house may be, he might say, okay, that guy did that wrong. I know how to defeat her security camera and then have her house broken into. So that is not what we want, but I do think that having some information out there, it is what it is. We do have quite a few warrants. I think some of the ones that I think jump out at me is, I'm really big on domestic violence. I don't like men that put their hands on women. That is a really big no to me. If there's been times where I might have snapped, it was probably because a guy had slapped a woman around and they get there and they act all innocent. which is incredible. I think most cops would agree. You know, you got a guy who's all tough, slaps a woman around, slaps his girlfriend around. He's all tough with her, got her terrorized. You know, police get there. You know, he turns into the best citizen ever. He doesn't know what's going on. Why would she say that? And it's just really cowardly. It is absolutely cowardly. So it's kind of a strong point for me. I am a big advocate of women being safe in their own persons, not being assaulted by so-called lovers and boyfriends. I guess that's probably a story for another day. Because if I keep talking, I may incriminate myself. This is this is a new time. So anyway, so thanks, Shaquille. You give me some something called Citizen App. There's a live stream action where the residents can see what's happening around their home. We have it in our community, so does Chicago. I would be definitely interested in looking at that. Um, so I think the more that people can see. So let's talk about this. And let me say here's our hometown hero, uh, Sergeant G, with his inverted 100% sign. So I'm laughing at this G because I for some reason I make the same mistake every time. Whenever I write a percentage, I put the percentage in front of the number until I realize that ain't right. Anyway, we got one of our hometown heroes on, hero of mine, Sergeant G, and a hero to many here in the community. So, KB DeBoss, good to see you again. I'd love to meet you in person. Maybe we have you on, getting some opinions. So, what we're trying to do is, Ashley. Hey, Ash. Now, you're supposed to be talking with the chief and not talking with Shaquille, but it's my show. No, I'm just kidding. Ashley Hines, one of the community leaders. So, you know what? Ashley, while you're listening, because you took off on me the last meeting, I think I would love to have you on the show because you are a mover and shaker in the community. You have, I think it's called Benton Harbor Community Corporation, and I'd love to have you come on and talk about some things that you're doing. If you have not heard the show before, Ashley, I've talked about the Talented 10th. That is when people like you, Shaquille, go off, go to college, learn a trade, bring those skills back to help your community. Again, Ashley Hines, James Gunther, CC McFall, John Sams III, all these guys, the up and coming leaders, our replacements. So, Ash, yeah, she said, I'd love to. Fantastic. Shaq said if Ashley comes on, she'll steal my show. That'd be fantastic. I'd love for that to happen. So yeah, we like to connect, Ashley. This is God ordained because you were actually on my heart. I wanted to talk to you, and then of course you tipped out like Kaiser Soze after you made your comments at the last week's meeting. So we will catch up. So today, Ben Harbor, we're on a chat with the chief. I had a guest who, for some reason, is not back on. You know, you got those saying, "Fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me." So, and what we were trying to do was get into a discussion of the Facebook kind of news channels, if you will. We've had one side on. Now we're looking for the other side, and I think there has been there's some rumbling that we're getting some complaints from citizens, and I think that people are smashing together the two separate Facebook news channels. Let me take Ashley off here. So yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about, and I still would like to talk about that. Here is very friendly Miss Athena Marie. Good morning, Reggie G. Good morning, Officer. G, can't wait for you to be back. We can't either. I'm sure G is at home driving his wife, Ashley, crazy. So she probably can't wait to kick him back here so he can get out her hair. No pun intended, because she does hair. So anyway, yeah, so especially like the last month, there was really quite a bit of buzz. People were even stopping me in the store, asking me, had I seen this, had I seen that? And I do, again, I believe that people kind of run the two together. As a matter of fact, I think with one of the recent incidents, there was some filming that somebody didn't like that was, part of the family. And then, you know, the next day it was said that it was Hood Street News, but he wasn't. It wasn't him. I just want to kind of clear that up. So there's been a lot of to do, a lot of complaints that we received from people that are filming on Facebook, and there's also different rights to privacy that apply. So for us, for police, just so you all know, police, when we are uniform, we don't have a right to privacy. We don't have a right to, if we're acting in our duties, people have their First Amendment right to say, you know, what they want. Obviously, it can't be inflammatory, like I'm going to bomb the president. Obviously, you can't do that, or I'm going to kill the mayor. But you can cuss police out. You can talk bad to us, which a lot of people in Ben Harbor take the liberties to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But where the issue comes in is not being a cop, not being in uniform. If you're just an average person, and especially if you're the average person that's a victim of a crime, or somebody in your family's been victimized, you have your right to privacy, and the First Amendment does not apply to violating your rights. So I think we have to, and I think part of the discussion would have been, if I can ever get Lamar on, is where do you draw the line with these pages? Where do you say, okay, let, there's a certain respect for the people involved, as well as kind of the class as an organization or as a channel to do the right thing. So, you know, generally, I think if people who are your consumers that support you uh, feel a certain way about something, you should honor what their collective thought is, and not have seen, well, I can do what I want because I'm this blank, or I have the right. And that's a fine line. And I think honestly, on that private sector tip, somebody can find themselves being sued, which is not necessarily anything we want. Um, so here we see we got Shaquille with another comment. So you also have Amazon and other security camera companies partnering to make sure senior citizens have cameras to protect them. You know, I'd be interested in that. One thing I will say though, especially having a mother who's a senior citizen, them in technology, sometimes it's tough enough even having them to understand their own smartphone. Let's get into cameras. But I definitely am for um, the protection of the elderly and their possessions, their homes, their persons, their effects. So, um, so kind of getting back, guys, what do we think about, you know, would U.S. citizens be interested in seeing if there's, you know, certain videos or photos of suspects, or maybe robberies or shootings, or burglars, or, you know, maybe somebody stealing the car, or warrantless? I mean, I literally have warrantless here on my desk, and we need to get those down. We'd love to get those down. You know, I guess you could say on one hand, well, that could be embarrassing to the person who's got the warrant, or the person who's in the video committing a crime. I guess the other side, somebody might say, well, you know, maybe that person should not have did what they did to get that warrant, or to be in that video. So again, I'm trying to make sure I'm thoughtfully looking at it from multiple angles. Again, I know other departments do it. I think that there's a tremendous value in it as far as obtaining information. Um, and I know stuff on Facebook travels fast, social media. This is the kind of the day that we're in. So just want to see people's thoughts on that. Again, we got quite a bit of information that we could put out. Um, but I just want to make sure that that's something that the citizens want to see. And I don't want it to be where somebody be like, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's do it. Post them, put those warrants out there. And put them out there, and it might be somebody's brother, sister, boyfriend. And then they're like, oh, no, we should be putting them out there like that. You should just call them. Well, you know, and I want to weigh that conversation, that thought. So just some things we're thinking about. Again, I'm kind of freestyling this morning because still had problems connecting with my guest. Because I'm trying to think. this weekend was kind of uneventful. Actually, I got hurt. I was at a game, and the freakiest thing ever. I was on the sideline, and there was a tackle came, and it went from on the field all the way across to White on the sideline. Hit me. It was two players intertwined. Hit me. I go rolling over them, and then of course my back legs folded over my back, so I was like in a C, but backwards, and my back has been killing me all weekend. But we improvise, adapt, overcome, still I rise. So I'm here um, in the office. So let me see here. We got present pillars. Good morning, Mr. James, future leader, one of my new favorite people. Warrant lists could be helpful for us. We could encourage and help dad's men to resolve their warrants so that things don't get worse for them. See this is why again people like James Gunther and Ashley Hines are brilliant and the next leaders of this community. That's excellent. So let me try to treat this right, James. So Present Pillars is an organization started by James Gunther to help dads be dads and men be role models for their kids. So, and here's a problem. I think we talked about this on the show before. Um, and some things need to be said, guys. The criminal justice system. Let's back up, guys. Let's back up. So, I'm gonna try to kind of give you the macro version come down. So, I'm a sociologist. I look at social constructs and groups and how they interact. And all right, so we are a capitalistic country. The country is formed on capitalism. That's under the guise of, if you work hard, you can achieve, you can earn, you can be successful, and all that is true. There's people that get filthy rich, but the thing with capitalism, and I'm giving you the really, really, really quick version. The thing with capitalism, a lot of people don't realize is that, yes, there's somebody that's on top, the rich, but capitalism has to have somebody on the bottom. It has to. For it to work, there's got to be the upper class and there's got to be the underclass. Now, you can look at that and debate that however you want, but that is the truth. So there has to be something under the upper class for them to maintain their hold on the upper class. So what are you saying, McGinnis? Why do you bring that up? So here's what I'm saying. So the foundation of the country is built on capitalism. And here's another thing that you will never hear anyone in criminal justice say. You will not hear them say this. You talk about through all the years, going back to President Reagan and going back to Nixon and all presidents subsequent, especially during election years, war on crime, war on drugs. We got to get crime down. We have to crime down. We throw money at getting crime down. But here is the absolute truth. The criminal justice system is a multi-billion-dollar system. So what do you mean, Chief? What do you mean by that? So I am saying to you, the reason why there is institutional racism and institutional discrimination is by nature of our capitalistic system is built in. And I'm not even talking about the racial stuff. This is strictly systematic and foundational. So again, there's got to be somebody on top, which means somebody's got to be on the bottom. And there's got to be those on top that try to do what they can to maintain their hold on the top, which means they maintain a stranglehold on the people on the bottom to stay on the bottom. So how's that applied to the criminal justice system? Again, James, like getting to your comment, because it's a very good comment. Basically, President Pillars tries to get men to stay out of the system and to be good fathers to their children. So the criminal justice, to James's point, let me put that back up there. To James's point, when he says we could encourage and help dad's men to resolve their warrants so that things don't get worse for them. How many people out there that's either happened to them or somebody that they know may have gotten a ticket, may have got a traffic ticket, kind of was confused how the system works, kind of sat on the ticket, didn't go in or didn't appear at the time they were supposed to. Maybe they worked, but they weren't sure how to contact, whatever the reason is, that ticket ends up turning into a warrant. Warrant comes out, you get arrested, and you know when you go before the judge, even if you plead guilty, there's the charge that may or may not be on your record, and then there's the fines and costs. So fines and costs can be tremendous, especially if you're a single mom or single dad trying to raise your family, doing the best that you can. You might be juggling two jobs. You're juggling picking up kids and dropping off others and going to Rocket football practice and dance and getting dinner done. And you know the last thing you can do is take off a day to go to court to appear on maybe some ticket that you got. So those things kind of lapse. I'll also give you another example as far as like say drunk driving, for example. The fines and costs on drunk driving are astronomical. It's a lot. Now I get it. The government's saying, you know what, maybe if we fine them to death, that'll stop them from drinking. Well, we know that doesn't work. So when James says to resolve their issues so they don't get worse, that's exactly what the system is designed for, to keep you in it. Another example, somebody might plead guilty, they'll pay fines, they'll pay costs, and then they will be put on probation. So now you have to go maybe 6 months or a year or 2 years on probation. But again, you got kids, you got a job or two, you're juggling, school. Maybe you might be even in school, your kids in school, their activities, you're working, trying to grocery shop, and you don't necessarily have the time to go to probation. Maybe you work at a job. There's a point system. Some of you guys know who have maybe been on probation know that some of the people that work in the courthouse are strictly not trying to work with you. They're not trying to be helpful. You might have could be a probation officer that says you must meet me every Thursday at 10:30 in the morning. Well, you might say, well, I work day shift. I can't get off well, you figure it out. Well, the person makes faced with the choice of, do I go report to my probation officer for a little offense that I got 2 years of probation, misdemeanor probation for, and risk getting fired from my job? Or do I go to work because I got to support my family and keep a low profile because I didn't go to court and probably is a wear out for me, but it's not changed the fact that the person still needs to take care of their family. So it's just kind of a revolving thing. There are people that are in the system that have been in the system for years because it's just revolves. And sometimes we're not smart enough to get out. But quite honestly, it's made to keep you either in it or your money in it. So you're not going to hear a lot of people say that. Some things just need to be said. So when you say help to have fathers who may have gotten to some bad situations not make it worse is absolutely critical key, especially when we're talking about social justice. And I've had a conversation. Actually, I was speaking to a group at LMC last week, actually a week ago today. And the topic of social justice kind of came up. I know we're kind of all over the place here. The topic of social justice came up. And I think we automatically assume, and I'd love to hear from Ashley and Rich and everyone on here if you got some thoughts on this. I know we've talked about kind of the warrants and putting those out in activity logs. Rich, that's also possible. They're quite lengthy, but it's possible. But we're talking about now social justice, and I think here's what we got to do, Ben Harbor. We got to make sure when we look at the term social justice, we understand it. It's bigger than, I think a lot of times people reduce social justice simply down to, like, say, police or criminal justice relations, meaning social justice on how police treat people or how people might be treated at the courts. But social justice is really way, way, way bigger than that. Those are some critical pieces. Don't get me wrong, but it's way bigger than that. So again, I'll give you some examples of social justice or a need for social justice. Some of it is just simple respect. So for many of us that are here, live in Ben Harbor, and we've seen people drive through, and you know what this means, the drive through that don't necessarily live here or reflect those that live here, have had and continue to have an utter disrespect for Ben Harbor laws. They're running red lights. They're running through stop signs. They're speeding down Main Street. Even when we stop them, they kind of give you this elitist attitude, like, how dare you stop me? I'm just driving through Ben Harbor. There's been people that we've caught dumping. And we ask, would you dump in St. Joe or Lincoln Township? Well, no. Well, why? Why would you not dump there, but you would dump in Ben Harbor? So social justice from that standpoint is the lack of respect from other communities for Ben Harbor or for communities that resemble Ben Harbor. I'm talking very general here, but social justice needs to go out to even neighboring communities and citizens from those communities. It's not just police and courts, it's other people in the area, in Berrien County, in Western Michigan, that have a certain perception or look at Ben Harbor and Ben Harbor residents in a certain light, and basically kind of knock them down simply because they're from here. That's a form of needed social justice change, is for them to change their perception and for us to demand to be respected when you come into our communities. So, we can talk about social justice from the standpoint of healthcare. We know that people in Ben Harbor have not traditionally had the greatest healthcare over at Lakeland. Now, I will say this. I think they've done a phenomenal job like the last 5-6 years, whenever it was when Spectrum came in and turned that around. But, you have a lot of people, especially Black folks, who they just traditionally don't go to the doctor. That's something we got to get over as a people. We got to do better. But when we do go, either they try to show you off, or they just kind of add more medication to you, more medication. My mom's on several medications. She ended up going to another doctor in another city, and he says all they're doing is just pumping you with drugs, because this drug counteracts this drug. This drug gives you side effects for this drug. So then when you get side effects from this drug, they'll give you another drug to help the side effects from what you're getting from this other drug. And it's a bunch of mess. So we have to be mindful of the full scope of social justice. That's why I love have Ashley on here. She would kill this topic. The full scope of social justice. So I'm gonna shut up for a second. Let's look at some of these comments here. Let me go back up. Where did I leave off at? Okay. Let me start back here. All right, so we started here. I think that's a good idea also. Appreciate that. Thank you, Tina. Hope I feel better. I feel slightly better. Some movements. I'm gonna try to get that video. I got crushed. It was I did not expect it, and it hurt like heck, but I toughed it out. Here we go. Mr. D Lane. He said, I'm from backwards Arkansas, and most cities and counties print a paper edition of what you've proposed. I support the idea. Okay, I like that. If you got some examples of some communities that do that, I'd definitely love to take a look, but I appreciate that feedback, sir. Great job. Here's the superstar Ashley. Matter of fact, we should call this Chat with Ashley show. No, she's a wonderful person. I love the things she's doing. I think it's a good idea, particularly the video footage. Can warrants be presented based on the offense? Yes, they can be. So, like, for example, here on my desk, I got one pile of felony warrants, one's misdemeanor warrants. We can even do it for like civil bench warrants. And one of the things I wanted to do, so here's again, while we're talking about social justice, another idea that I'm trying to get with the courts on. So some of these like little bitty tickets, like say maybe people got tickets, before during the pandemic, that kind of threw everything off. It's all kind of crappy, how everything was thrown off. But for some of those civil infraction citations that turn to warrants, with the courts, that's why I'd like to speak to the Chief Judge, Judge Mayfield, and she's terrific. With the courts, here's another, again, confusing. So, when you have a warrant or you get a charge, you go to the court to be arraigned. You'll plead guilty, not guilty, and then they'll set you a preliminary examination or a court date for you to come. And then they hope that you'll plead between then and there. How come you can't just do it right there? So you might plead. They might let you stay out on bond. And then again, they'll set a time 3 weeks in advance for you to be there at such and such a time. Again, it's kind of a problem trying to coordinate that with work. But would they take something like civil warrants that came from traffic and just let the person pay the fine and be done? Don't have to go to court and be arraigned. Don't have to have another court date. If it's something simple like that, let's just pay it and be done with it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I don't know how that process works. That's why we're interested. Actually, we've talked about getting with the courts and seeing is that something that could be done. So if I got like $125 fail to appear on a rolling stop sign, I just come pay that and done. Just be done. So that's that. Let me go back up here. It's Ashley. Rich asked police activity logs. We do have those are pretty long though. They're about anywhere from 40 to 80 pages, depending on the year. Matter of fact, I got one of those around here too, where I was counting the complaints. That's a possibility. Shaquille says warrant list used to be posted in the department lobby and newspaper, and I think you're probably right. Jeff McCoy, tune in. I'm not sure he is, but it'd be nice if he did. All right, I'm trying to. So I got this little sidebar here, so forgive me. I don't have an engineer yet. Someday, hopefully, we'll get there. Here's another one. Another comment from Rich Robbers. Ticket not logged properly. 7 years later, a person I know spent a night in jail due to clerical error. That happens a lot. Again, social justice. I guarantee. So that clerical error could have only been in the court. We can't do that because they're the ones that, of course, authorize the charges, put them in lien to where they go into the state system. So if a person put a warrant in that shouldn't been or should have been canceled because it was past the limitations for that particular crime, then that is strictly operation of the court. However, in our court, they never accept responsibility, and it's always Benton Harbor's fault, no matter what. No matter what. So this clerical error, honestly, our court officers deal with stuff like this almost on a weekly basis. You know, they'll make mistakes and they'll blame us. Well, you didn't have it over here on time, or you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You're lying. And we did do that. One of the things that downstairs they like to say is Ben Harbor doesn't get their paperwork over. Well, we have automatic file transfer. And one thing Deputy Director Clark does, every morning he gets all the paperwork together and we scan it in and we put it into this direct send over. It literally appears like magic at the prosecutor's office every single morning. Sometimes there might be a delay. Sometimes prosecutors might be busier than others, or they might work in other cases, or they'll prioritize like the really big offenses. And maybe, one of our reports might wait till, late in the morning. But instead of calling upstairs and say, hey, you guys got a file on such and such for Ben Harbor, they'll just call us. You guys' paperwork is late again. It's never over on time. You're a darn lie. It is. But don't be so jumping to, I'm going to say racist conclusion. Don't be jumping to conclusion, assuming that everything negative is on us when the problem is upstairs and vice versa. We deal with that every single week at the court. Again, something just need to be said, and that's how it works. So, Rich, to your point, these things happen, and then ultimately a person spends the time in jail overnight, and what do they get? Like, oops, I'm sorry, pat you on your back, going off, and we'll see you later. That's not fair. So we got here, Donnie Lane, you got an ally in Stevensville. Appreciate that. And we do got some friends down there in Lincoln Township. I'm going to tell you right now, Lincoln Township has an absolute, if you live in Lincoln Township, your fire department is top notch. You got great guys, great staff over there. So I'm comfortable to say, now I can't say that for all communities. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to put them out there, but you got Benton Township, Ben Harbor, Lincoln Township, got outstanding fire departments. You guys are protected. Them guys are rock stars. So I saw the word fire. That put me on that tangent. Let me see here. Athena Marie. People disrespect the city of Ben Harbor because they think just because our city looks like it does, it should be more trash look at St. Joe. High class people, rich folk living in St. Joe, keeping up with their landscape and all. So that's a great point. Um, because they think just because our city looks like it does. So when do we say, and I thank you, Miss Marie, when do we say enough is enough? And again, this is an aspect of social justice. Are we as a people choosing to take our part in the spheres of influence that we touch, i.e., my neighborhood? You know, am I helping to keep my neighborhood, to help beautify it, to help pick up trash? Years ago we would do that. Now we're at a point where people don't really want to get involved. It's what we call NIMBY in sociology, not my backyard, meaning that's their problem, it's not my problem. That's why I think it's gotten so out of hand, why the city of Ben Harbor has become so apathetic to many things. We're apathetic to shots being fired. We hear them all the time, to the point where we don't even report them. That should not be. We're apathetic to the fact that there might be trash on our street, not in front of my house. It's not my trash, so I don't need to pick it up. As opposed to, you know what? If I pick up this trash, the trash is picked up. It'll help to clean my neighborhood. Other people might see me picking up trash and be inspired to do something like that themselves. So now you get to the point where you can't say, well, just because of how our city looks, because people take pride in the city and clean it up. The city staff is low on staff. I know the city, we need positions, in a couple places, especially public works. They're doing the best they can what they had to work with. But realize public works at one time, if I remember correctly, in my tenure, I've been here, 23 years, has had at one point almost 30 people in it. Now you got like 6. So the work is still there. But we, as to your point, Ms. Athena Marie, is we need to take pride in control of what we can control and to clean that up. So the thing is, before we demand respect from those outside the city, and I'm going to read this again, we need to demand respect from those inside the city. Again, some things just need to be said. But her comment was, before we move on, people disrespect the city of Ben Harbor because they think just because our city looks like it does. And I'm pausing there because you are 100% correct. And we, Ben Harbor people, we control that. That's what I'm saying. We control that, how the city looks. And if it's something that's not getting done by the police department or public works or parks department, you have the right to come in here, either call the manager's office, come to the committee meetings or the commission meeting. Matter of fact, there's one tonight. So we have to expect better, and we as a people need to demand better. So I really firmly believe that, before we look to gain respect from people outside the city, we got to show that we respect each other, respect ourselves, and that we demand the respect that we say we're looking for. So great comment there. I love it. Again, this is, I'll take that off there. Again, these are kind of rolling in. Ms. Spencer, please share the videos. We'll do. Got here. And I'm just, you said I don't pre-screen these. We just, when they come in, this is what we have. Hey, Ms. Mason, Chief, I hope you feel better soon. Your discussion is great on these important issues. Well, thank you. And I hope that the discussion goes out, because it's not just me just kind of pontificating and just kind of rambling on. Well, today it kind of is. But my point is, I hope that we're saying something, because Chat with the Chief is not about fluff and tickleisms. It's about talking about what needs to be talked about. And we got some serious issues. And I'm always going to be a proponent for my people. At the courthouse, I've had some discussions. Had a great discussion with the Chief Judge, Judge Mayfield. She was very poignant. I love and respect her. And you see her in the community. You cannot say you don't see her. So she's invested. She cares. So I have hope that there can be some change to some of these issues over at the courthouse under her leadership. So I do want to say that. And I want to be fair, because there's some other judges that I haven't spoke well about that I had blasted, and then she confronted me on. She said, you blasted some of my colleagues and I didn't like it. I actually did blast them. I appreciate your honesty, and I'm being honest. I meant it. And I think she respected that, and we had a common ground. So again, all we want is dialogue. We might not always agree, but here's the thing in Ben Harbor also. It seems like for some of us, if you don't agree with me, then we become mortal enemies. We just can't like just disagree on this one issue. Now it's, oh, now McGinnis is this, he's that, or I hate him. That's crazy. It's just, maybe you like hot, I like cold. Maybe you like black, I like white. Let's not become enemies simply because we don't agree on a particular topic, which is very unique in our community, I think. So anyway, thank you for that. Right here, we got, who's this? This is Gil. Wounded Wednesdays, turn yourself in Thursdays, felony Fridays, and that actually is good. Have helped nab many fugitives. Some departments only use such social media campaigns for violent crimes, including murder, rape, and assault with a deadly weapon. Oh, that's good. As a matter of fact, when I was a shift sergeant, we used to have felony Fridays and misdemeanor Mondays. So that's kind of funny that you said that. Because here's what's funny, Shaq. Now, if I would have said that, or one of the officers would have said that, because of where we are, and of course, social justice with the temperature with police and the community or across the country, they might say, "Well, that's wrong. You're having too much fun. Felony Fridays and misdemeanor Mondays." And you know what? It is what it is. We didn't make the felonies. We didn't make the misdemeanors. So I appreciate that. I like that. Wanted Wednesdays. Turn yourself in Thursday. And felony Fridays. So don't be mad, Shaq, if I use that. Hope don't copyright it because I like those ideas. Okay, I'm trying to find my place. Rich says, if warrants were posted somewhere, errors might be sorted out. Well, let me say this, and that's a good. You guys make great points. I appreciate that. So one of the things, Rich, that we would do is make sure thoroughly vet that warrant to make sure that is accurate, because you've hit on the head. There are times where there are errors made, and you might put some out there, which again is going to get public scrutiny and maybe cause somebody embarrassment. And if they don't actually have a legitimate warrant, or here's another issue we see, is they enter a warrant under the wrong person. So, for example, if your name is like James Williams, that's like one of the worst names to have. Williams, White, the absolute worst names to have, because you'll find thousands of John Williams and John Whites and Joseph Williams and Joseph Whites. So it is very feasible for somebody to get confused and maybe enter one warrant under the wrong person. And I'll give you an example. One time, we don't think about it this way. I had I don't know what I was doing. I don't know why I did this, but I was happened to just search for my name in the county CJ, and couldn't find out that in Berrien County at this time, this was many, many, many years ago, there were 6 Dan McGinnises in Berrien County alone. Now you would think that your name might be unique. I guarantee you probably go on Facebook, you probably pull up probably another 8 Shaquille Turners from around the country. So what we think might be we take for advantage is our name that's germane to us. It might be other people like that. So there were 6 Dan McGinnises in town. Actually, I remember what happened. So one of the officers was lodging somebody in jail. And in the jail, they write on a board who's in the cell. And somebody had saw Dan McGinnis. And they're like, oh my God, Sarge got arrested. Well, it didn't happen to look inside to see, was it really me? So I guess if he was that concerned, he should have checked on me. But I guess whatever. So he was in total shock, thought that I had got arrested. So he had called me. I guess he was calling me to leave me a message, assuming that I was locked up in jail and that I would get his voice message when I got out. So he called me and I answered. He's like, oh man, I thought you was in jail. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I was in jail and I saw your name on the board. I'm like, man, look, did you look at there and see it wasn't me? And he's like, no. So my point is, it is very easy to confuse somebody. And again, as we saw, Rich made allusions earlier, there are clerical errors that can happen. So But the errors could be resolved if warrants are posted somewhere. I'd agree. We got Shaq's comment there. I like that. Wanted Wednesdays. Here's Mr. Athena again. Some people come into my job and officer, you have seen me at work with my kids, and these people need to take responsibility for themselves and throwing trash in my parking lot. And I work across from the Whirlpool building on Riverview. So yeah, it's I agree. We need to take responsibility for ourselves and clean up our community. And I guess more importantly, not even clean it up. Let's stop trashing it. How about that? Let's not clean it up. Let's stop trashing it. Maybe that's an idea. I don't know. Here's another good comment. Maintain city properly. Also lead by example. And I just kind of talked to that. Shaq here, Rich Rabbers, that part. Here's second ward cleanup efforts months ago. Bags collected still sit along the street. Department cooperation, I and many others be glad to pitch bags in garbage trucks if needed. So if that is the case, I guess that would definitely be a complaint for the city manager's office. I would be curious to see where those are. So you know what? I'm gonna put my email address down here, and you can email me that directly. Rich, if you got some locations, I can bring it to the city manager's attention. Okay, we got here Donnie Lane. Here is part of an article where they discontinued the warrant list. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette has discontinued the right to know mugshot gallery and has taken down all previously published mugshots. For the past decade, the gallery has included photos, names, and charges of people arrested in Pulaski, Garland, and Saline counties. The decision was made in the interest of fairness and our commitment to upholding the highest journalistic standard. Thank you, sir. And this is really speaks to the crux of what I'm saying. I do plan on getting with the city lawyers to make sure there's no liability or any issues as far as rules of law. But I agree. So, people do have certain rights, although this is public information. When a warrant is authorized, it is public. But, sometimes you can get more bees with honey than with vinegar. So I thank you much for this information. Definitely has given me some place to look at that and kind of weigh the options. And here we try to be thoughtful in processes here at the Public Safety Department. We don't just kind of just do stuff on a whim. But I'm just wondering how we can get information out there. I think maybe would you guys think that posting information as far as potential burglary suspects or videos of people testing cars indoors is probably a little bit different than the warrant list? So are we saying like, hey, we for the most part kind of agree on putting out video that will help citizens protect themselves, but the warrant list might need some more discussion? Is that what we're saying, guys? And we are getting close to the end. Last comment here, I think we got from Athena. Make a law for the city. If you litter, you go to jail. We actually do have that. We don't typically lodge on those, but they are misdemeanor tickets, and I personally have written several of those. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate it. It was a good discussion, great show. You guys were kind of listening to my madness. I'm not sure again what happened with my guests, but as we say here, we improvise, adapt, and overcome. Again, I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the comments and the thoughtfulness. I think James, if you're still on, do me a favor, text me Ashley's contact so I can get in contact with her since she ran out on me Wednesday. No. So thank you much, Ben Harbor. Until next week, you listen to Chat with the Chief here on our Benton Harbor Department of Public Safety Facebook page, the City of Benton Harbor YouTube page. I am Dan McGinnis, the Director of Public Safety for Benton Harbor. And thank you much for being with me this morning. Until next week, same time, same channel. We're on every Monday, 9 a.m., live at 9. And of course, you can go back and replay it on our Facebook page or on our city YouTube channel. So until next week, be blessed, and we'll talk to you later.